Hello and welcome to Hash Rugby Chat. Tonight we will be talking about Major League Rugby because, boy, there have been some rumours going around recently about that. We'll talk about European rugby that's been going on as well, and the women's international rugby that's been going on. There's a whole bunch of that happening in November internationals because women didn't have the Rugby World Cup this year, so we'll talk about that as well as any other topics that kind of come up. So feel free to whack them in the chat for those of you who are watching the live show. For those of you who are on the podcast, don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends and that kind of stuff. Because, hey, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion. And joining me this evening is Mr. Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir?
Very good. Thank you, Paul. Privilege and a pleasure once again to be on the TDM. I'll get that right one of these days.
Easy for you to say, sir. Oh dear. So where should we start? Actually, let's start with a little news roundup. And one of the things that we put in that is always how have the world rankings gone. Obviously, no changes in the top 10. They've not been playing each other, but a hat tip and a big congratulations to Poland, who have jumped up from 37th to 34th in the rankings, a jump of 3 places. So congratulations, Poland. You're the biggest gainers this week. And you did a quick research about Poland, didn't you, before we came on?
That growing superpower that's got 74 clubs, which equates to 6,779 registered players. They first played in 1922, but I'd say there would have been some probably their growth might have been stunted a little bit during the 1939 and 45 years. But listen, it's great to see. Their most kept player is a chap by the name of Stanisław Wykorek, and he played 65 times. Got no idea what position that he played in, but that's pretty impressive for a small country. And they're coached by Dwayne Lindsay and Andrzej Kozak. So there's an English-sounding name there, so there might be a little bit of English influence in Polish rugby at this time.
And commiserations to Botswana, who've dropped from 71st to 76th. They're the biggest losers this week. So, yes, they're going in the other direction. Well, we think BOT means Botswana, but there we go. I'm not fully up on all of my, I'm blank. Acronyms of countries, not acronyms, whatever, shortened names anyway. So there we go. So any other kind of quick news items you've seen this week? You want to have a quick chat about the tasty topics?
Yeah, not really in and around world rankings at this stage. Of course, things are a little bit quiet with no international autumn season, hence the World Cup. I suppose we're all pretty much looking to look at probably who the Six Nations squads are going to be named once they come out. I saw new Welsh coach Wayne Pivac had named a Welsh team that sparked a little bit of interest. A couple of New Zealanders in there, Johnny Nicol and a guy with a very Welsh name, of course, Wilson Halaholo, also named in the Welsh team. I know a few ex-Welsh internationals not too happy about that, but hey, they're probably not going to be the first guys, overseas players drafted into a Welsh shirt, and they're not going to be the last.
Well, they're definitely not the first, but yes, they're not going to be the last either. And yeah, come on, folks. Every single time this happens, people throw up their arms and go, oh, it's unfair, blah, 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 blah. Look, get used to it. It's what it is. The regulations are about to change at the end of this year. So it's going to go from 3 years to 5 years for the residency period. And basically, that was mentioned 5 years ago. So the idea was, or was it 4 years ago after the last World Cup? The idea basically really being that anyone who'd started and just moved then would be eligible. Now it was to alter or stop people moving in these last couple of years, really. And to be honest, I've not seen any major shift or change in the recruiting policies of any of the European, Japanese, or other clubs. So I think the change from 5 to 3 years has had minimal, if any, effect at all on the movement of players globally, like it was supposed to. But there you go. it's a topic that will get discussed time and time again, and I'm sure we'll come up with something. But I think one of the things that needs to point out. I mean, I've lived in 4, 5, 6, something like 7 countries, I think it is, in my life. I'm married to someone who isn't born in the country I'm born in. Both my kids are born in different countries to either the 2 countries that myself or my ex-partner are from. So, hey, look, people move around the world nowadays. It's a small world. People do travel. We can't just. You've got to accept that some people will travel and their nationalities will change, there's got to be some mechanism for people to represent other countries than just where they're born in. And people like. I mean, George North was born in England, for example, but you've also got players. I mean, Pocock was from Zimbabwe, I think. You've got players like, I've gone blank, the bald-headed Australian captain who was born like in Saudi Arabia because his Australian parents were
Stephen Moore.
Stephen Moore, that's it. Were assigned there. So look, people are going to be born all over the place because people do move around the world nowadays. So yeah, get over it, folks. So yeah, let's. That's right. So check out the Wales versus the Barbarians this weekend. Now I've done my predictions for the Pro 14, and you can go check those out at DrivingMaul.com. Obviously, we've got to take into account that Welsh players will be missing from the Pro 14 this weekend, and then my predictions for the top 14 and the Guinness Premiership will be going out overnight tonight, New Zealand time. So keep an eye out for those as well, all on DrivingMaul.com to check that out. But yeah, the big news really that kind of becomes a bit of surprise. I mean, I'd heard some noise around Major League Rugby that not everything was okay, but I'll be honest, I was surprised when I read an article today that suggested that the club that is talking about leaving Major League Rugby before the end of the year is what used to be called Glendale Raptors, is now known as Colorado Raptors. One of the founding teams, probably the first professional club team in the USA. They were kind of them and the Austin Hun, who've moved on to being called Austin Elite and are now called Austin Herd. Were kind of the first 2 clubs to start contracting players full time. So it's a bit. And the Raptors were the first team to actually build their own rugby stadium. Clearly, they're not about to go bust or out of business. They're leaving because of basically political issues, by the looks of things, and just not happy with how things are being run. Which is a bit of a surprise. I mean, I say a founding member. Apparently, they're one of the people behind the fact that the MLR commissioner has changed. So that was I didn't realise that they'd be manoeuvring for that. So yes, it is a bit. It's you kind of wonder where would they go if they left Major League Rugby, because first off, they actually apparently own the name Major League Rugby, so they would take the name with them. But apart from that, you're kind of thinking, well, who could they actually play? Because there are no other professional teams outside of Major League Rugby in the USA or in North America, full stop. So it seems a bit strange. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out and keep our eyes out on it. But it's a very strange one because from the outside, everything has looked pretty rosy and heading in the right direction. The final last year attracted an audience of 500,000 viewers, 500,000 viewers on CBS. That's a pretty good TV audience, isn't it?
Well, it's not too bad. If we had, like I say, you've got to look at it in terms of scale. But I always know something like around Super Rugby in New Zealand, if they get an audience between 250 and 500,000, they're normally pretty happy with that. Usually, an All Black Test match will pick up close to a million viewers, Paul.
Yep.
So in the scheme of things, I know people will go, "Oh yeah, but America's huge, quite a huge market." But really, all you're looking is just that little slice of the pie.
Exactly. They don't need to be as big as American football. I mean, they'll never be as big as American football in the States, let's be honest. But to be a world player, they only have to get up to being. I was listening to the Red, White, and Black Eye, or the American Rugby Pod today, and they'll say, yeah, if we could get as big as ice hockey, for example, in the States, then hey, that would be serious cash. Those players get paid a lot of money relative to rugby players. So, yeah, they don't need to be the biggest sport in town. They just need to be even just the 6th biggest or 7th biggest in the US, and they'll be making some serious cash.
Paul, we're also seeing a lot of track athletes coming across to sevens. So we're seeing some very good athletes who, they may be not top end track athletes, although I'm saying that guys like Carlin Isles and Perry Baker have all been in the American track team. So if you can attract that sort of athletes across with with an opportunity to play at the Olympics, hey, that's a good thing.
It is. Now, so next year for Major Rugby, which runs at the same sort of time as Super Rugby, there'll be new teams in Atlanta, Washington DC, and New England. Which obviously shows the expansion is going well there. There's also talk of a team in Dallas, which would be a 3rd team in Texas. There's been talk of something happening in Columbus, Ohio, maybe. But with maybe one of the teams actually moving there, who knows? There's LA have got a team that's been that's in the wings as well. So it's not like there aren't teams who are looking to join and things going in the right direction. One of the points that you've been talking about recently, the number of players heading over there, and obviously Ben Foden's already over there, the ex-England international. Bastareaud is heading over there, Rennie Ranger, and Digby Awani are kind of the bigger names that are heading over there. And I was like, oh, wow, are they getting serious money? Well, there's a 500 million. Gee, no,
that'd be nice.
500 million salary cap. Now, if you think the salary cap for the Guinness Premiership is £7,000. Plus, you can add bits on top of that through your what do you call it, your academy. So it's not even no, they're not even in the Premiership market by any stretch. Never mind the French market. Even the Welsh regions are between 3 and 5 million, I think it is their salary cap. So they're a long way behind. Players aren't going over to Major Rugby at the moment for big cash, big dollars.
No.
But you've been impressed by the sort of names they have been able to attract, but the smaller names.
Oh, absolutely. There's guys like Mason Emery from Hawke's Bay. I think he might have actually gone to the Colorado is that Raptors?
Yep.
He popped across there as well. But from what I believe, talking to a chappie who played a bit of club rugby in Waikato, I think one of the teams, the Utah team, has got several boys from out of the Waikato club competition. And we're talking about kids that are not just club players, but kids that have actually played age groups. Some of them have actually been in Chiefs academies and whatnot. So, more than handy footballers. I always believe that anybody who's worn a rep jersey is a reasonable footballer.
Okay, well, it'd be interesting to find out who those the people players heading over there are, because looking at the list of signings, Kalua Tuiloma, Tuiloma from County Cal.
Oh, is that Kalolo Tuiloma, the big tight head prop? Yeah.
He looks like the only person from New Zealand who's headed over there this time. But when you talk about, but if you just run through some of them, so we're looking at so Colorado Raptors. You talk about Michael Curry from Tasman, Jason Emerson, Hawke's Bay. You've got Samuel Slade from Counties, Manukau, Michael Stewart from Southland. Looking into Old Glory DC, Gordon Fullerton from Waikato, Jason Robertson from Bay of Plenty, Danny Tuisatala from Auckland.
Halfback. Might have halfback.
Yeah, you'll be able to spot him because he's got bleached hair. Or bleach tips. Houston Sabercats have got Tim Caldwell from Manawa 2, plus Boyd Wiggins from Northland. The New England Free Jacks, Sam Beard from Crusaders, apparently. And they've got a couple of guys from they've got about 3 players from Australia. New Orleans Gold got another player from Australia. No one from Rugby United New York. San Diego Legion, Chris Eves from the Hurricanes, and then Marnonu, obviously. Seattle Seawolves, Tim Metcher from Counties Manukau is heading back. Toronto Arrows have got Tyler Adams from Southland, Richie Asiataa from Queensland, so it's Australia. We talked about Utah. So this, talking about what I mentioned about their 10, 15 names.
Yeah, virtually a full team.
So virtually a full team of Mitre 10 Cup level players heading over there for this. Now, with a squad of about 33 to 35 players, you've got $500,000. You're talking about $15,000 US dollars per player on average. Now, some will get more, some will get less. But you were saying that the salary cap excludes things like housing and flights and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, basically, usually all that sort of stuff is all basically catered for. So they're pretty much, in effect, getting cash in the hand. I know, chatting to the father of a former Tongan first five, I'm pretty sure he won't mind me mentioning the name, but Kurt Marath, who was playing over there about 3 seasons ago, and he was around on about that 15 grand mark. But considering he was a Tongan international at the time, that's probably, it's probably about right. So, like you say, I think that money, I think we could probably look at 15 grand as a baseline, and then you look at some of these maybe former international stars on a little bit more of a top up. Not much though, I would imagine. Not
much, or maybe getting extra. Ambassador's doing it as a kind of sabbatical break from too long. So I think most of them going there for the experience, to see what's happening, see what opportunities it might open up for them. One of the players who did go last year, I had a chat with him off camera, so I don't want to sort of say his name, but yeah, he was saying, that he in a few years' time, the money's going to be serious, and people will be going over there for the cash. And it was interesting hearing him talking about it much more as a job, which is kind of like, I guess we as fans don't really think of it that way, but you could see that was what he was thinking in his head, was around those numbers and dollar figures as a job move, rather than necessarily as as the emotional tie. Because that's most these clubs basically are all brand new, with the exception of the Raptors, who have been around for a while. You look at some Seattle Seawolves. Sure, they've got ties with Seattle Harlequins who have existed there, but they're only 2 years old, or 3 years old. Sorry, maybe. Even Austin Elite, who came out of Austin Huns, separated from that club and came through. Now there is some talk that maybe they'll be having some salary cap issues around tracking and all of that kind of stuff, and maybe that's one of the things that Glendale isn't happy with. But we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. Chris was asking, do we have? I thought there was a marquee player. I can't remember if I'm not sure. I've not actually read the rules about the salary cap in Major Rugby and how that's set up. Christopher, people saying about cheating salary cap, you're probably thinking about what's happened in the UK or in England, with Saracens, rather than what's happening in Major League Rugby. But maybe they are. So interesting times in the US. I will be following all that, doing predictions and things. As I said before, you can get all that kind of stuff on DrivingMaul.com. But we'll be definitely checking that all out over during the season. Where should we go next? So have a chat about the. Let's. Well, one of the things that has sort of slipped under the radar for a lot of people is the women's game and the November internationals that have continued. been going on. I'll just run through some of the results. So back actually at the end of September, early October, South Africa played a double header against Scotland, losing 5-47 and then 15-38 to Scotland. Into the November game, Spain beat Wales 22-5. France lost to England 10-20. Ireland lost to Wales 13-15. Italy and Japan drew 17-all. England beat France again 17-15. Scotland lost to Wales 3-17. Canada beat the USA 0-19. I'm sure there's been 2 games there, so I'm not sure what the other result was. And England beat Italy 60-3. When you see that Spain beat Wales, and then Wales went on to beat Ireland and beat Scotland, it beggars belief that Spain got excluded from the Six Nations. They're going to be they're a competitive side. They've got themselves into they went to the Olympics in where was it again? Gone blank. Rio. With their sevens program. Spain is really an up-and-coming country, but because they wanted to mirror the men's Six Nations, Italy came in and Spain got ejected. And I think that's a really poor move, to be honest. Japan beat Scotland 24-20 apparently as well. So thank you for that, Christopher.
Paul, I was going to say that England-France game was an interesting result. Apparently, very very good game. 17-15. The French have been a little bit of a surprise package last few seasons. Of course, they've had some good victories over the Black Ferns as well.
Yeah, they have, and it shows good competition at the top there. I mean, you've got New Zealand, England are ranked 1 and 2 in the world currently, only split by 0.88 points, so pretty close. Then you've got Canada. France have just dropped down from 3rd to 4th. Australia have climbed without playing any games by the looks of things, and the USA have dropped down because of that loss to although 2 losses to Canada, because I know there's been 2 games. I can't remember what the other score was now. So those dropping down, but Spain ranked 9th in the world at the moment, behind Italy and behind Wales, but ahead of Ireland and also Scotland, who will be further down. So it's interesting. It's good to see Australia sort of moving up. Their women's game with the sevens as well has been going well. So it's some good signs of growth there for Australia in what, let's be honest, has been a bit of a bad time for them recently. So finally, we should probably have a check-in on the results. The European Champions Cup, and also the Heineken Champions Cup, as it's called now, and the European Rugby Challenge Cup has been going on this weekend. Now, it's going to be a bit interesting because Saracens have basically announced that they're going to, obviously they're in the competition, they're going to turn up with teams, but they're not going to select full strength teams. So one of the 3 teams would have won it. So 3 teams have won it 3 times each in the last 9 years. Saracens with 3, Toulon with 3, who are in the Challenge Cup. They didn't even make it into the European Champions Cup this year. And finally, Leinster. So are we going to see a new name on it, or are we going to see Leinster cruise to another title? We'll have to see, because as I say, Saracens have said they're going to pull out. Leinster going well so far, 2 wins, and Lyon. Now Lyon might be top of the top 14. They really don't care about Europe. Their first test is going to be coming on, not this weekend, the weekend after. Double header against Northampton Saints, with the ex-Hurricanes head coach doing a very good job there. Chris Boyd, that's what I was looking for. I think I've lost Stephen. I think he's maybe can't hear me anymore. For those of you in the live chat, please let me know if you can still hear me. If I might have to finish the show on my own. But we'll have to, because I don't think he can hear me. No, he can't. Okay, looks like we probably have lost Steve from this. If he comes back, then, but that'll be great. But I think, without and until he comes back. So yeah, so those two head up pool one at the moment. That's going to be a cracker because Saints have been going really well. Let's be honest, they haven't lost a game all season. So you've got to wonder what's going on there. So that's going on there. In Pool 2, Exeter top the pool with 2 wins, and with Sale Sharks coming up next year, expect them to go well. So it's been a long time coming. Exeter going well in Europe. They really have struggled. So in this competition, they've done really well in the Premiership. They've won the Premiership recently. They sat at the top there, but they've not been able to translate that into Europe. It looks like perhaps finally they've found the kind of the way to do that, and so it's in there. It looks like I've lost Stephen. We're trying new technology tonight, by the way, as you can probably see up there, over there. Actually, sorry, StreamYard is what we're trying this tonight. So unfortunately, I've lost Stephen. Ulster top pool 3, having got that fantastic win over Clermont last weekend. Amazing. Again, Ulster, another side that for me have flattered to deceive in the past. They've not really been able to perform as well as perhaps their side should do. We've seen them come up and down a bit too much, but it looks like again maybe they're pulling it together. They're going on the top Pro 14 and also in this competition as well. Depth obviously will be an issue for them, not for Clermont though. Harlequins and Bath, they can forget the top competition altogether. Let's be honest. Into Pool 4. Racing and Munster had played out that draw after both picking up wins. Now, obviously, with Saracens, I'd say pretty much have given up this competition. Ospreys, very poor team this year, and have really struggling. So they're out of it. But yeah, Munster and Racing 9-2. Racing not gone so well in the top 14, but again, getting players back now like Finn Russell, etc. Fantastic nutmeg grubber that he did for that try. So it'll be interesting to see if what happens there. Are you back, Stephen? No, he's not. Okay. Oh well, we'll forget that then. Toulouse then top the Pool 5. The great, one of the granddaddy of European rugby, really won it for a lot of times, slipped away last season. This season coming back into it. Be interesting to see how they go. 2 wins so far to top their group. Montpellier, Connacht, Gloucester. Gloucester having those 2 losses, they've already admitted they're pretty much out. Montpellier really have disappointed this season. And Connacht, whilst they do well at home, they're not going to challenge Toulouse away, are they? They're going to. You got to say Connacht are going to. Yeah, they'll fight manfully, but I can't see them actually performing well enough there. So yeah, interesting sets there. In the Challenge Cup, a few names that you might go, wow, look who's there. And mainly Toulon, basically. Toulon picked up 2 wins. Obviously, great history in the European Champions Cup. They won it 3 times in the past 9 years, so done very well. So they're going well in their pool. Teams like Scarlets, to my mind, Edinburgh, Bristol, all have a chance of doing really well in this competition. Teams like Leicester are probably going to have to. The Tigers may have to concentrate on the domestic matters. But you'd think someone like Bristol, Edinburgh, Scarlets, Toulon are the ones that can target this and will probably come out of it. Probably yes, as they do well out of can target this. Dragons other surprise package got 2 wins so far now. True, that was again one of those games was against NSI, the Russian team, but plus 41 points difference in their 2 games so far. Pretty impressive. So Dragons actually started having a pretty decent season under Dean Ryan, who has taken over over there. So it'll be interesting to see how Dragons go. They're not the worst team in Europe. In Wales, as I've said in my prediction article. So the Racing. Yeah, they did have a good performance, as you say, Simon. They are dark horses for this one. Leinster obviously going to this one as massive favourites. I'd look at somebody like Munster, obviously a decent side. I say Exeter look like they've got their act together. Finally, so those are the teams I would look at probably in that competition. Right, folks, I think it's going to be a short one this evening. Stephen's got himself some new headphones. Can he hear me now? No, he can't. Okay, so clearly not the best. So yes, I say we're trying new software this evening, folks. Sorry, it looks like it has failed us, and I might have to try something else instead. Having sort of various technical issues over the last few weeks. I'm not going to have internet at my home in Hamilton until Christmas, which is obviously a big challenge. I will be back tomorrow night, though, with the All Blacks edition. I'll be pre-recording that during the daytime, so that'll go live in the evening at 8 p.m. over on the All Blacks edition channel. So check that out. Obviously, talking about coaches. Looking forward to the Sevens that is coming up and things like that. So thank you, everyone who's joined me in the live chat. Thank you, everyone who listens to the show on the podcast and watches the video recordings as well. If you would like to support the channel, then check the link down below at go ahead to drivingmaul.com and you can become a supporter of the channel there. So thank you very much and good night.